Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a global scope in your model. Now in our post controller, we have two methods, an index method and a show method. In the index method, you can see the posts are being searched for and returned inside a collection. Now the query includes this where clause to check where the status is true. Now in the show method, we have something similar. We have an if statement to check whether the status is true and return a resource if it is, otherwise abort with a 404. Now, both these methods implement similar functionality to check whether the model status is true or false. This is something we can extract and add into a global scope. Now, before we create the global scope, let's look at our tests and make sure that we can refactor our code successfully. I created 3 tests for this example. The first test returns a list of all active posts. The second test will return a 404 error when the post status is false. And the third test will successfully return the post if the status is true. Okay, now if we look at our snapshot, we can see our first snapshot is for test 1. We've got 3 posts where the status is true. Our second test will return a 404 error, and we can see it is a not found HTTP exception. And our third test is a single post where the status is true. And let's run PHP unit to make sure our tests are passing. And as you can see, we've got 3 tests and 6 assertions. Everything works fine. Okay, now in order to create a global scope, we'll do it via an artisan command. So it's PHP artisan make scope, and we'll call it active post. Now within our global scope, which can be found under the model's scope, this is where we add our query to return only the active posts. And we can do this by amending the query builder that has been provided for us by saying builder where our status equals true. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to register our global scope in the post model. And we do this by overriding the booted method in the model and add a static call to the add global scope method. And then inside as a parameter, we pass in our active post. Now back in our controller, we can remove this where clause in the index method. We can also remove this whole if else statement, because if the active post global scope cannot find a model, it will automatically throw a 404. So we don't need to manually do this anymore. So we can go ahead and take this return statement, remove the if else, and just return it like this. Just a word of caution. Junior developers or other developers not familiar with your application might find it difficult to troubleshoot if they are not aware that there's a global scope behind the scenes, because it is not obvious when you look at this code. So it might just be a good idea to add a small comment to say that this data is being filtered by a global scope. So it'll give them an entry point to start searching or start troubleshooting. Okay, before we move on to PHP unit, I'd like to remind you to like this video if you found it useful, or subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and remember to turn on the notifications. Okay, so let's go back to PHP unit and see if we've done this successfully. And as you can see, 3 tests are still passed and we've done 6 assertions. That means we've successfully implemented a global scope in our model. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.